Welcome to Hello Houston. Coming up this hour, we'll discuss today's top stories, including the House approving a rescission plan to cut funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which affects NPR and PBS. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Celestia Sherman. We'll also break down aspects of the One Big Beautiful Bill with a fellow in public finance at Rice University's Baker Institute.
Plus, we'll also learn more about the Museum of Fine Art's latest exhibit in its ambitious Summer Immersive series.
And as Frank and I discuss the top headlines of the day, we want your thoughts, your questions, and your concerns. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
All this and more right here on Hello Houston, right after the news from NPR and News 88.7.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Congress has given final approval to a rescission of $9 billion in federal funding previously allocated to foreign aid and to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. The bill cleared the House early this morning along party lines, 216 to 213. The move ends federal funding for NPR, PBS, and their member stations. The rescissions include $1.1 billion for the CPB. Catherine Marr is NPR's CEO.
The good thing for NPR is that about 1 to 2 to 3, depending on how you want to account for it in any given year, % of our funding comes from federal funding. That means that we are going to have some time to understand the implications of this and make up the loss.
Marr was speaking to NPR's Morning Edition. She says many member stations will likely cease operations because of the rescissions. Republican lawmakers who back the spending cuts say the package is part of a broader commitment to reducing wasteful spending. Health insurance costs are set to spike next year for people who buy their own plans. That's according to an analysis out today of insurance rates for 2026. NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin with details.
There's one big reason why insurance premiums are going up next year. The federal money that had been making premiums lower expires in December. Those enhanced premium tax credits began during the pandemic. Cynthia Cox is with KFF, the nonpartisan health research organization that published the analysis of next year's rates.
Individuals on average are going to pay 75% more than they did this year.
People who are generally healthy might well decide that's not worth it. They'll go without health insurance and risk it. The people who can't do that tend to have chronic conditions or expensive medications, which cost insurance companies more. Cox says that's why health insurance companies are raising rates. Selena Simmons-Duffin, NPR News.
Authorities in Brazil worry that the former far-right president is a flight risk, are imposing new restrictions on his movement. NPR's Carrie Kahn has more on Jair Bolsonaro.
Former President Jair Bolsonaro must wear an electronic ankle monitor and cannot communicate with foreign ambassadors or approach embassies. The tough surveillance was ordered by Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, who also banned Bolsonaro from using social media and communicating with other defendants in his ongoing criminal case. That includes his son, Eduardo, who's in exile in the U.S. Bolsonaro says he never had plans to leave Brazil and is suffering, quote, supreme humiliation. Justice Moraes is a target of conservatives for his crackdown on social media disinformation. He's removed accounts and fined companies, including Trump's. Trump says Brazil's exports will get a 50% tariff, citing Bolsonaro's case. Carrie Kahn, NPR News, Rio de Janeiro.
This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Flood warnings and alert systems are top of mind after the deadly floods in central Texas earlier this month. As News 88.7's Adam Zuvinich reports, a local resource may be flying under the radar.
Harris County has had a flooding alert system for decades. It utilizes more than 350 sensors across the region that measure rainfall as well as water levels in bayous and channels. But in a county with 5 million residents, only about 40,000 are signed up to get text and email alerts from the Harris County Flood Control District. That's according to agency spokesperson Emily Woodell.
Obviously, when you look at a region as large as Harris County, that's not that many. And so not a lot of people are tapping into this resource. It might be a little bit unknown that folks are able to use it.
Residents can sign up for the free service at fwsalert.org. They can choose to receive alerts for specific areas or the entire county. I'm Adam Zuvinich, News 88.7.
An HPD sergeant is recovering in the hospital after he was shot in the leg. HPD Assistant Chief Adrian Rodriguez says the incident took place just after 11:30 when two sergeants were responding to a call near Hobby Airport.
There was a call for a suspicious person with a weapon on Makawa at Alangenoa, which is directly behind us. The suspect had a weapon, a Hispanic male, and the sergeants that responded to the scene, as soon as they got to the scene, immediately took fire from the suspect.
The sergeants then returned fire, wounding the shooter before taking him into custody. Both men are hospitalized this morning in stable condition. The mayor's office identified Sergeant Paul George, a 27-year HPD veteran, as the officer injured last night. And that tropical disturbance that's been pushing through the Gulf over the past few days has now moved over land. The National Weather Service says rainfall has begun to move into southeast Texas. Locally heavy rainfall may be possible east of I-45. And of course, we'll keep you updated here with the latest on News 88.7. Currently 85 degrees here on the UH campus with a high today near 90. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from Made In, makers of cookware found in restaurants around the world, offering a carbon steel non-stick griddle for home use, designed for use indoors or outdoors on a grill or over an open flame. More at madeincookware.com.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Houston. It is Friday, July 18th, and whether you're in your car, you're listening to us on 88.7 FM, or you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you tuning in for the latest news and updates that we give you right here on Hello Houston.
We're glad you're here.
And it's Friday.
It is Friday. Friday always just, I don't know what it is. Friday just feels like Friday.
Yeah. It's it's an interesting time for sure for us here.
We'll talk about our plans at the end of the 2 hours.
We'll talk.
For now,
Yes.
Little rain out there if you're on the east side. That system that Louisiana, it never did develop. I told you yesterday it wasn't going to develop. It never did.
Mm-hmm.
Too much land, too much upper air wind. But it's brought 10 to 12 inches of rain to parts of Louisiana outside of Lafayette. So it has been a big rainmaker for those folks there. It's staying away from us, a few showers, so you could count on half an inch of rain maybe if you're on the far east side, Liberty County to Livingston, that area. It's kind of nice to have the clouds.
It is. A little cloud coverage is nice. Yeah. It keeps everything kind of cool. But does that mean that the humidity is going to be higher?
Yeah, humidity is a little higher.
Yeah.
But, when the humidity is high and you have that full sunshine, that's when it's really tough and you get those feels like numbers around 100. But cloudy, staying in the 80s today, and then, maybe a little rain if you're on the east side. I think tomorrow, less so, and then Sunday looks good. So it should be, weather-wise, a pretty nice weekend.
That's great. And so, again, if you're joining us on YouTube, remember to subscribe and like us. And you can also follow us on Instagram. We have some really important messaging going out that we're going to be talking about later on today. So like us at Hello Houston or follow us at hellohouston.show. But, Frank, what do we have coming up on the show?
Well, we break down the aspects of the big, beautiful bill with Joyce Beebe, fellow in public finance at Rice University Baker Institute. How's it going to really affect all of us from no matter what level you are in life? How is this bill going to affect you? And she's going to break all of that down. But first, the headlines.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. So as you've been hearing all morning long, the U.S. House late last night voted to approve the final passage of the Trump administration's rescission package. So that will claw back $9 billion, $8 billion for foreign aid programs, and about $1.1 billion allocated to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. The vote was 216 to 213, with the support of all but 2 Republicans. The bill now heads to President Trump's desk to be signed. We understand that there are a lot of questions around what does this mean specifically for Houston Public Media and for the programs and services Houstonians rely on. So joining us now is Associate Vice President, General Manager of Houston Public Media, Josh Adams. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be back. Sorry
Yes.
it's on a tough day.
And if you have questions for Josh or you would like to share your thoughts or your concerns, you can call now. Our lines are open at 713-440-8870.
Yeah, we already have the phones going. I just want to introduce Josh. We talked yesterday.
Yes.
Not a surprise, just a disappointment.
Right. Yeah, it's not a surprise. It is a disappointment, but the reality is, we have to maintain the idea that our vision is a strong vision. Our place in the community is rooted in the folks who support us, the folks that listen to us, and the folks with whom we interact every single day. And that doesn't change. Funding doesn't change that. And that's kind of the core of who we are. And when we think about that, we're able to go about our everyday jobs and do the best work we can do, whether that be that, you guys hosting this show or our folks running the boards or the people, we've got people in the building today working on some desk build out in our newsroom. Those folks are here working. All of that goes on. And that's what running a responsible business feels like. You plan for these types of things. And while they're not good and you wish they didn't happen, you know that you're going to survive them. You're going to remain strong. You're going to continue to do what you're supposed to be doing.
And Josh, we understand this didn't quite happen overnight. It's been in the talks. Yeah. We understand it's been moving forward slowly. But now that the rescission has been finalized, what type of impact will this have, first on a national level for all local stations, and then talk to us a little bit about how it's going to directly impact us here at Houston Public Media.
Right. So let's, I spoke a little bit earlier today on Houston Matters about this. We'll start with the national picture, and it really goes into kind of two buckets. 530, we'll call it 530 million annual dollars pulled back. Where that really, really is going to be felt the hardest is probably going to be in rural and underserved markets. Those are places where they simply just don't have enough people to sustain a level of fundraising that keeps you going. It's expensive. It's expensive to pay for these programs, expensive to run all the equipment and technology that's needed. And so where you're going to feel that there, or where you're going to feel the effects of this probably the most urgently are in those small markets. And those are small TV markets and small radio markets. That second bucket, though, is kind of in a scale economy. As we all learned in the 9th grade in economics, when fewer people are paying, the price goes up, right? Just supply and demand. And so if there are small markets, I anecdotally have heard that there may be as many as between 75 and 100 TV markets across the country. And the number of radio stations could be in the several hundreds where this clawed back money, these CPB funds that they get, represent, in many cases, 30, 40, 50, and there are even some markets where the CPB grant is 60% of their annual operating budget. So these are places where if they have no endowment, if they've got no one backing them up, if they don't have savings, they're going to have a hard time making payroll at the start of their fiscal year after, maybe just one or two cycles, and that's a concern.
Would you think that some of them would certainly just maybe scale back what they do so that the ones that do radio and digital may go more just to digital, which is a cheaper platform?
That's certainly something that I think they would entertain. You got to understand, we are a $19.5 million now, more like $17.5, maybe $17 million organization. We've got 85 full-time employees, right? We're robust. These are stations that have 3 employees, stations that have 6 employees. They got somebody for the morning, somebody for the midday, somebody for the afternoon, an engineer, and somebody trying to do sales and community outreach. It's hard to take 6 people and flip your business from a full-time radio station to a full-time digital station. And the reality is that, a lot of that equipment on the transmitter, that's sunk cost. You've already paid for the antenna. You've already paid for the transmitter. Might as well use it, yeah.
Right. And so when you mentioned that some of these smaller rural stations will have up to 60% of their budget coming from the CPB. When we're looking at Houston Public Media, what does that breakdown look like for us? And when we're looking at the actual, millions, what are we looking at?
So it's 10%. Our CPB grant was $2.2 million annually. So that's recurring annually funding that's now gone away. Not a one-time gift, not a one-time payment. This is annual dollars that's now gone. Like I said, we were a $19.5 million revenue company. We're now $17.5. And that's assuming that all of our services remain the same and people continue to support us at the same level.
That's the other question. So of the money that's going to be coming in, how much comes from, I guess, grant money or sponsorship money, and how much from the public that we ask for money every year?
Well, so, as I said, 10% from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And that's gone, which now means 100% of the money we raise and the money that we need to operate comes out of the community. 100%. We do not get state dollars. We do not get budgeted dollars from the university. We do not get regular budget dollars from anywhere else. We raise all of it out of the community, and we do that with individual gifts from people who give us $5, $10 a month. We have major gifts anywhere from $1,200 a year to $5,000 a year. And then we have major donors who are giving us a higher level. We get money from foundations through grants for which we apply. We have underwriting, and then we do about 10% of our annual revenue comes from sort of other things, fee for service, production. We have a lot of partners that we help with, things like shooting their podcast, or they utilize our studios. We don't broadcast it. We're just the experts that help them create their own content, fee for service type of stuff.
So I think the question then becomes, we obviously know that the money is gone. We obviously go into fundraising and things like that. But now what is our strategy moving forward?
Well, so the strategy moving forward is to stick to the plan, right? And the plan has always been serve the community, continue to do content that resonates with everybody out there, and continue to invest in distribution platforms that put that content in front of people. This show is a perfect example. You mentioned earlier that this was this rescissions was kind of a slow slog, right? Mm-hmm. The reality is that slog's been going on for decades.
Right.
From Reagan. They've been trying to get rid of public funding. They just haven't been successful. This show was created much like a lot of our organization has pivoted to digital distribution because we knew funding could be at a risk, and not just federal funding, local funding, underwriting. Radio and TV terrestrial broadcasts are down. Mm-hmm. But our digital streams are up, right? So we're reaching more people, just not more people over our over-the-air streams.
You're listening to Hello Houston, and we're speaking with the Associate Vice President, General Manager of Houston Public Media, Josh Adams. You can join the conversation at 713-440-8870. And we do have somebody on the line right now, Ana Maria from Pearland. Ana Maria, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question for Josh?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. The only thing that I want to do is give you a word of support. I love you guys. I love almost every show on NPR. I've been listening for years and years and years. And I think that this is uniting us, the community that those people are trying to break up. So keep up the good word, and I think we'll be okay.
Well, from your mouth to God's ear, Ana Maria.
Yeah, Ana Maria, thank you so much. Look, those are the types of comments that I've been getting. From the time of the vote last night, all night long. It was a late night and early morning. Texts, phone calls, emails, Instagram posts. That's the level of support that we've been getting from folks who have been calling and saying, I love you guys. I want to support you. What can I do? How can I help? How do we lean in? And look, that's because for decades we have been rooted in this community. We have a firm foundation of support in the community, and we're going to lean on that. That's part of what this resiliency fund is.
And some of the donations, not everybody could afford it, but if some of the donations just doubled, if you give $50 a month and could give $100 a month, that would go so far. Yeah. And what like you said, now 100% is donations and a little grant money, a little foundation money. But what percentage comes from people like Ana Maria?
So you'll have to let me do the math real quickly here. Our membership is roughly a little less than a fifth, 20%, 25%, maybe a quarter of what we do. I'm getting confused on the math because I'm trying to back out the 2.2 million to now give it the new fractions. I'm trying to do a little fractional math in my head. But the reality is that whether it's from individual donors like Ana Maria, from major donors, from corporate sponsorship, or from foundations, we're still raising that. Those are still gifts from the community to support this organization.
And one of the things that you mentioned was the Resiliency Fund, and that is our basic response to what happened last night. And how much are we trying to raise, Josh? I understand it's $4.4 million campaign, and that's going to offset the losses. Can you give us a breakdown of where that will go?
Sure. The breakdown is easy. It's going to go to support the operations of the station. Our goal is to try to raise at a minimum $4.4 million. That would be 2 years of CPB funding. The intent is that those dollars are going to be a bridge to help sort of span the gap that we're going to have between right now and when we feel the effects of the money not being here, which is September 1st.
So the $2.2 million clawback that we were talking about right now in the Resiliency Fund, when were we supposed to originally get the $2.2 million?
So 2 years ago, Congress appropriated that money for this coming fiscal year. So that would technically be the period September 125 through August of 26. That's FY26. We also were appropriated money for the following year, September of 26 through August of 27. That's FY27. So the clawback affects 26 and 27.
And when that money was granted, it's clearly under the Biden administration, but there was no pushback. It was like, this is what we do. This is the government supports this. This has been around for 40 years.
We've enjoyed bipartisan support for decades.
And now suddenly we don't want to support them anymore. Or at least half the one.
That's the way they voted.
Yeah.
And so what can we expect, Josh? How long do you think we'll have to be in this Resiliency Fund campaign? And what can people expect when it comes to our programming? So no programming is going to be affected. What can you reassure
I wouldn't say
our
that.
listeners?
I think programming will be affected. Yeah. I mean, so what I can tell our listeners is that we're going to be in this campaign until we've raised the money, right? So that's really what I would want you to hear. Until we've raised the money, we're going to be in a version of this campaign. We are evaluating everything. We are evaluating every contract. I'm evaluating every program. We're evaluating every piece of equipment we use. We're evaluating things that we thought we were going to invest in. And we're going to look at them and we're going to go, okay, with the understanding of the world we have right now on July 18th, is that still the way we want to go? And the way that we're going to effectively do that is with the incredible team of folks we have here.
Well, it takes good leadership. So kudos to you, sir.
Well, thank you.
And our members. So thank you if you've already donated to Houston Public Media. We are speaking with Associate Vice President, General Manager of Houston Public Media, Josh Adams. Josh, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you guys for the work you're doing.
And thank you for your transparency and your candid comments.
Yeah, look, it's all built in trust. The community trusts us, and we've got to reflect that trust back in order to keep this thing going the way that we want.
Awesome.
Again, thanks for joining us. Coming up on Hello Houston, we break down aspects of the bill, the big, beautiful bill with Joyce Beebe, a fellow in public finance at Rice University's Baker Institute. This is News 88.7. Stay with us. Federal support for public media, including this station, Houston Public Media, was cut last night. But this station runs on something even stronger, and that's you. Today, more than 90% of Houston Public Media's funding comes directly from our community. That's why we've launched the Resiliency Fund that we were just talking about on Hello Houston, to protect the future of independent local public media right here in Houston. Your gift today sustains vital reporting and more than 15 hours of local content each week. Support the Resiliency Fund now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman here with Frank Billingsley.
One of our YouTube comments was, you guys should start selling merch. They do that in Telluride. It's the NPR and Telluride does that. They've got great T-shirts and caps, and
Where's
we can put
merch?
Celeste's face right on a
yeah,
T-shirt.
That's what everybody wants to wear.
That'd be awesome. When you give, you keep NPR journalism and all of our local programs strong and accessible to everyone. The Resiliency Fund is a powerful way to ensure this trusted service remains here for you and your neighbors, just like Hello Houston. Just join us now. Give it, and we got an easy link, houstonpublicmedia.org/donate. Simple, dimple.
Yeah, and Houston Public Media is owned by you. More than ever, this is your station. And that is something that we strive to do here at Hello Houston, that you all are a part of the conversation.
So we wouldn't be here without all of our listeners and viewers.
We would not be here without you all. And honestly, we take your feedback into account, and we also appreciate you, the engagement, that we know y'all are there, and we work to make sure that you are getting the latest and most important information. So again, go to Give Now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate, or give us a call, 888-909-0887.
And maybe you've been listening for years but never given. We love those kind of people. So,
Yes.
Because they're there. We know they're there. Now really is the time we need you to step up. It's just the perfect time to become a new member of Houston Public Media. Your very first gift helps protected, trusted local news, 20 hours of Houston-based programming every week, and the NPR stories that keep you informed. So with these federal funding cuts, your support is more important than ever. So please join us today. You can become a new member at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
The Houston community has grown and rebuilt many times, and through it all, Houston Public Media has stayed true to its mission to be the essential source for independent local journalism, storytelling, and programs that inform, inspire, and engage. So head to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate, or again, pick up that phone, 888-909-0887.
From the Center for Investigative Reporting and PRX, this is Reveal.
If people are dying in your hospital of overdoses, you should know how many there are.
I'm Al Letson. We bring you the best investigative reporting, true stories with impact, over the airwaves every single week. Reveal, because there's always more to the story.
Reveal, Saturdays at 2 p.m. on News 88.7.
What you hear on this station, every report, every interview, every update, is only here because someone like you gave.
80% of Houston Public Media's funding comes from Houstonians like you. Our newsroom runs on support from you, our community.
You have the right to know what's going on, and you have the power to make sure others do too.
Join the community right now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Houston Matters is your essential daily guide to the people, places, issues, and ideas that define Greater Houston.
These counties have been growing a lot.
I think what has been holding us back is the fact that for 2 legislative sessions, schools didn't really get an increase in funding.
If the storm surge comes up the ship channel, that's a nightmare.
There's an acceptance at cons that you don't get elsewhere. No judgment, and it's beautiful.
I'm Craig Cohen. Join us for the next Houston Matters, weekday mornings at 9 here on News 88.7. I'm Josh Adams, the new general manager of Houston Public Media, and we are here for one reason, you. I'm thrilled to lead this remarkable team dedicated to our mission of informing, educating, and inspiring everyone in the greater Houston area. And yes, these are challenging times, but together we'll meet them head on with bold ideas, honest reporting, and stories that matter. Houston Public Media is your public media. Together, let's make it incredible.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill into law on July 4th. And one thing everyone can agree on is that, well, it's big.
It's big.
With 870 pages in length of the legislative text of the final bill. It extends income tax cuts for a wide swath of individual taxpayers and businesses. It includes about $75 billion in new funds for immigration and custom enforcement over 4 years. It makes historic cuts to safety net programs, including Medicaid and food stamps. And it's bigger in dollars than 2 of President Joe Biden's laws combined, the American Rescue Plan Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure law. Here to help us break down some of the many aspects of the bill is Joyce Beebe, a fellow in public finance at Rice University's Baker Institute. Joyce, good morning and welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hi, Joyce.
So, I was on the website last night, on the president's White House official website. And I mean, it's no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security.
But let's put this in perspective. Because it's up to a certain amount of money that you make.
Right.
And it's limited. It's only through 2028 for a lot of us.
Right, exactly.
You take it away.
So, let's start with the no tax on tips.
So no tax on tip is obviously his campaign promise. He wanted that to happen, and he basically say up to $25,000, only for 4 years.
So your $25,000 that you make, which you might make as a waiter in the first 3 months of the year, 3 or 4 months of the year, you pay no taxes on that.
Right, but to clarify, only no income tax. You still pay payroll tax.
So you're still paying a payroll tax for that.
And let's not forget about the tax bill actually raised the standard deduction to $15,000 about 10 years ago. So the OBBB actually extend that permanently. So you already get a $15,000 standard deduction, assuming you file standard deduction.
So is there a list of those who can consider their money tip money? Like an Uber driver makes tips. I know that. A waitress makes tips. That's pretty obvious. But, Celeste and I can work for tips.
Yeah.
I agree.
Where's the tip jar?
I mean,
it looks like we're going to need it.
I know, right? We need resiliency tips.
We need some tips.
I mean, people are going to try to skirt the system here.
So, yes, absolutely. So the bill actually say, Treasury Secretary will give you the answer in the regulation. So there, exactly.
Scott Bissett's going to take care of that?
Right.
Okay.
So pretty much it will be common ones like food and beverage or personal services, haircut, nail salon, those people. But the detail list, like Uber driver, I am curious about that too, because that's a new phenomenon. I don't really know how Treasury will do that.
So we just got to wait for the list. And if you're on it, but then you could reclassify your job.
Definitely.
So I mean, you could if you're an Uber driver and they say no, not for Uber drivers, you could reclassify yourself as a personal driver and personal services.
No, definitely. So that is something a lot of people are worried about. Those behavioral responses, you will change your behavior or your work is the same. You'll just reclassify different things to fit that into that classification.
Social Security is pretty there. There's no way to skirt that. So how's that going to work? You make $2,000 a year from Social Security, or $2,000 a month, say, from Social Security.
And that's also something that the president said when he was campaigning. That was another one that he was saying. But he said no tax on Social Security.
It's not necessarily true either. So it's only up to $6,000, and it's only good for 4 years.
So would you say that was one of the compromises when they redid the bill or refined it?
So this bill was $4.5 trillion in lost revenue, and then they tried to cut expenses for $1.2 trillion, with a net cost between these two will be $3.3 trillion. So it's a pretty expensive bill. And so I would think this is a compromise. He can say, I don't want to completely waive tax on Social Security, tax on tips, or tax on overtime.
Let me get back to this Social Security so I understand it. You only don't pay tax up to $6,000, and then you do pay tax over $6,000?
Right, Social Security income. So you receive some Social Security. You can.
So the first $6,000 you get in Social Security income, no tax.
Right.
But after $6,000, you do pay tax.
Right.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that until just now. And it's only good for 4 years. So it's gone in 2029.
Yes.
So what if you file a joint tax return with your spouse, and would that make any difference? So instead of the $6,000, it's now $12,000.
It will. Yes, it will be higher. Yes.
Okay. Now the SALT, which is state and local tax for that's important to Texans because one of our big tax burdens is property tax.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you have $20,000 in property taxes, for years you could deduct all $20,000.
Right.
But then you suddenly, in 2016 term, the first term, it got cut to 10.
Right.
Now it's back to 40.
Right. So that was one of the last negotiations that Congress have to pass this bill. I almost feel this will be the provision that prevent this from passing before 4th of July, because that's what President Trump wanted before 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was resolved very, very last minute. So everybody agreed it's 40,000 because during the discussion, there's every number thrown out there, 10,000, 20, 50. So this is going to help Texan and Houstonian because, like you said, for the state, our state tried to reduce the burden on property tax every legislative session.
No, that's going to help.
It is going to help. There's an income limit, but it's pretty high, $500,000.
The
What about
income limit is
capital gains?
$500,000.
Capital gains tax. Is that going to go down? That's about 15% right now.
Right. That doesn't change. Whatever the 2017 tax cut is decided, it's just making permanent.
Okay, so.
What about the no tax on overtime?
In the bill, it basically just say, well, we're going to model this right after the tips. So the no tax on overtime, the limit is $12,500.
$12,500.
It's lower. But the way how it's treated is just basically a deduction of that.
So you would still have to put your overtime, you would still have to put it on your W-2, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. And then
Okay, so I know this probably isn't, this is sort of theoretical, but will employers say, your overtime is not going to be taxed, so I'm going to pay you less of it?
It's possible. So that's one of those behavioral responses, like you will classify something as tip, right?
Right.
And then another consequence will be, well, your tip is not taxed, your overtime is not taxed within certain limits, so I'm going to reduce your pay because you are going to net out the same anyway. So that's totally possible.
Well, most overtime you think of time and a half.
Right.
But an employer could say, you know what, it's going to be time and a third. Because you're not paying tax. Well, you know, they could.
Yeah.
They could say you're not going to pay taxes on it, so overtime is now time and a third, but you get to keep that third with no tax all the way up to $12,500.
Right.
So it's going to be very give and take on this. I don't think it's a clear cut.
No, it is not. So it will be really interesting to see how people adjust to that law in order to accommodate the additional benefit.
I don't know. I don't see any calls. If you have a question for Joyce Beebe, she is an expert on this.
And we are quizzing her.
I mean, we haven't rehearsed this. We're just asking questions. She's a fellow.
If you keep asking, there's something I wouldn't know for the 900-page thing.
Yes.
But you can ask Joyce. She's a fellow in public finance at Rice University's Baker Institute, and we're at 713-440-8870. So give us a call or ask us by text or YouTube.
And so something when I was going through this list, obviously we say the no tax on tips, the overtime, the Social Security. There's a tax deduction on Made in America auto loan interest.
Right.
So you basically have
$10,000.
$10,000. And so there's no EV credits anymore, but now we have a deduction for Made in America. Can you elaborate on that?
So it basically said for every year, that's probably also good for 4 years, if you make a car loan payment, only interest, not the car loan payment itself, the interest can be deducted for up to $10,000.
Is that per year or total?
Per year, but there's a really interesting twist. Your income has to be lower than $100,000.
Oh,
okay.
There's always these twists.
Or if you're a household, $200,000.
That's
So
why
my
it's so
British
big.
computer
There's no
guy,
hands.
my British computer guy on YouTube, your friend.
Oh, yes. What does he say?
He
say?
has a question. He's a fellow YouTuber. He gets tips through his YouTube platform. Would those be considered tips?
I will say with the qualification that what the Secretary of Treasury say, whether your job qualify. He's going to say this is a list of industries that qualify for that. So you have to wait for the regulation after he issued that and then to see if you fit.
Okay, now something that I absolutely need to know more about is one of the other parts of this bill is creating Trump accounts for every American newborn.
Right.
Okay.
That's a really interesting development. So basically, it's going to start 1 year from now. But between 1/1/2025 and the end of 28, if you have a new baby and you can go to the financial institution and open an account, you can tell the federal government, hey, I opened a Trump account. Can you put $1,000 in there? And the federal government will say, yes, here it is. And by the way, there's string attached again. You have to invest this fund in S&P 500 index.
Okay.
Oh, I was
Keep that
hoping you were going to
stock
say
market strong.
education.
No, the target will have to be invested in S&P 500 index or anything the Treasury Secretary think is
That's not
okay.
bad. So, I mean, the S&P 500, that's where I would just throw money if I had free money.
And there's a one-time $1,000, right? But you can't touch it until the baby turns 18.
And
does the baby have to be? What if it's birthright citizenship? Does a baby's parents have to be documented?
Do you have to show documentation?
The baby has to have a Social Security number.
So you have to have a Social Security
That's all,
number.
though. Don't you get that in the delivery room these days? Practically?
Right now, yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
But this is kind of interesting because there's basically 4 ways when the baby turns 18 you can use this and being taxed at the long-term capital gains interest rate. So you can use this money when the baby turns 18 to pay for college.
Okay.
Or post-secondary education credentials, like if you want to be a welder or that sort of thing. You can start your own business and use the money to do that. Or you can buy your first home. So anything else, you have to be taxed as regular income.
Sounds good, though.
And we do have a call. Janet from Spring. Janet, are you on the line? She has a question for Joyce.
Yes, hi. I thought that the Social Security portion of the One Big Beautiful Bill was an increase in the standard deduction of $6,000 for age 65 or older and a increase of the standard deduction by $12,000 to 65 and over for married filing jointly. There is still tax if the taxpayer is subject to tax. They'll still be taxed on their Social Security where there's a taxable event. But there is no, in the One Big Beautiful Bill, there is no regulation that states that there's going to be no tax up to $6,000 and no tax up to $12,000. That is an incorrect statement.
So I think what you mean is it's incremental instead of separate. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that the Social Security, the only impact is going to be an increase in the standard deduction by $6,000 and $12,000 respectively from single to married filing jointly, not non-taxable for $6,000 and $12,000 respectively.
So your Social Security income, well, the first $6,000 will not be taxed. I don't know if it's going to be an increase for the standard deduction or something different, but your first $6,000 of Social Security is not going to be taxed.
Right. What I'm saying is that it's an incorrect statement. As a CPA who just recently sat in a town hall conference with the AICPA that's broadcasted for all CPAs throughout the nation, it is a misunderstanding that there'll be no tax on Social Security. That is an incorrect statement.
No, I agree. It is not no tax. I agree with you. And also, it's only temporary. And so I want to mention something that before 83, Social Security is not taxed at all. So after 83, Social Security was starting to be taxed, and the tax has increased slightly over time. So he did want to fulfill his campaign promise to say, well, I promise at the campaign trail the seniors will get some kind of no tax on Social Security. But I agree with you, it's not tax-free. It is not. And then it's only temporary as well.
At the end of the day, we just have a few seconds left. A good thing or a bad thing, in your opinion, the big, beautiful bill?
I think some things are definitely good.
Yeah, good.
Like, for example, the last topic, the Trump account. The $1,000 is free.
Mm-hmm.
You should definitely take it. But there's other things, or probably the whole thing is $3.3 trillion.
There you go. A lot of debt.
That's
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
Joyce Beebe is a fellow in public finance at Rice's Baker Institute. Joyce, thanks for joining us. And coming up, we're going to talk about the Museum of Fine Art's latest exhibit. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues. Do you have a script?
And we're back.
You're listening to Houston Public Media, and we have recently launched our resiliency plan. And here is Josh Adams, our Associate Vice President and General Manager, to talk to us a little bit more about that plan.
Yeah, listen, it's a dynamic morning. Things are changing. We're coming and we're going. If you're watching online, you're seeing people shuffle in and out of the studio. Look, it's business as usual here, serving the community, doing great content, and making sure that people can find it where they want it. Yes, last night, Congress rescinded appropriated dollars that were meant for public broadcasting. To us, that means $2.2 million annual dollars of our budget are gone. $2.2 million in revenue. That's about 10% of what we expect to come in. And so we are going through the process of trying to replace some of that money. That's what the Resiliency Fund is all about. It is a stopgap to help bridge from now until when we are able to sort of get back to a place where we understand what the new norm is with revenue expense management.
And these federal funding cuts are significant. But we're taking action to ensure that our services remain strong. Earlier on Hello Houston, Josh was saying, I was kind of feeling optimistic, like we're not going to have any issues with programming. But no, this is extremely significant. This is something that is really essentially a critical point in our time here at Houston Public Media, where we're looking to you, and you can give and be a part of something of keeping local broadcasting, number one, local, and number two, strong. And so make your gift now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
If you woke up in the morning and 10% of your budget was gone, you might change your behavior. You might shop for groceries at a different place. You might pivot how you handle a vacation, how you donate your money, how you live your life. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to pivot. We are going to reassess where we are and how we spend our money. And we're going to make sure that every expense we incur is absolutely in line with where we want to be going, not with where we were. And that might include some of the programs that we currently have on. They might not continue.
Right. But something that, when we were looking at Hello Houston, and Josh, you were a part of the team that was looking at strategies and ways that we could essentially meet other new listeners and viewers and meet Houstonians and meet people in Katy and meet people in Cypress where they're at. And that's why we're on YouTube now. And we're constantly pivoting, not just, in the way we do things, but also in the way we reach you. So now is the time. Make your gift at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or give us a call, 888-909-0887.
Houston Matters, Hello Houston, the Party Politics podcast, like all of this was designed with the idea that we needed to be going to a place where reaching people across more distribution platforms is easy. So that really had nothing to do with funding going away. We launched this show. We created this great team. We created this broadcast because, over the last 5 years, we've done a ton of research that points us to the idea that you need to be doing great content and distributing it in all the ways you can. That's what this is about. So when I think about the future of where we're headed, you're like, what does this portend? Well, what it means is we're going to keep developing shows in this vein. We are going to, every time somebody comes to this station to give an interview, to break news, to be a part of something, it needs to be in the studio. It needs to be with video so we can distribute it on social media, so we can have it on our website. That's the future of content distribution.
And maybe you've thought about giving, but you just haven't taken that first step. Truly, why wait? We are telling you, now is the time. Pick up the phone, give us a call, go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate. Again, 888-909-0887.
Yeah, we can't understate it. We need your support right now. 888-909-0887 or online, houstonpublicmedia.org.
It's one thing to love public radio, but it's a special thing to support it. Consider this. If you've got a car you don't need anymore, or you've got one that's simply too expensive to repair, you can arrange to donate it to Houston Public Media. We take any kind of vehicle in any condition. It's easy for you, pickup is free, and it could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. Visit houstonpublicmedia.org/cars to learn more. And thanks.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Alley Theater, presenting Agatha Christie's The Mirror Cracked, a mystery where everyone becomes the suspect of a murder in a web of jealousy and hidden truths. Tickets and more at alleytheater.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. Call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org to get your comment in on today's topics. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
What do we owe the future, and how might machines help us remember what it means to be alive?
That's a big question,
That's a
Frank.
very big question. We're so philosophical here. Hello, Houston. We're philosophers. Now, I did major in philosophy.
I'm not
It makes me an existential weatherman. It's not really the
I love
absence
it.
of cold. It's just hot. All right. This summer, the Museum of Fine Arts Houston unveils Karmic Debt, a haunting, immersive exhibition by acclaimed artist Anicka Yi, whose animatronic sculptures and AI-driven films dissolve the boundaries between life, technology, and time itself. From glowing, breathing organisms to a generative video made to outlive the artist, Yi's work invites us to imagine new worlds and reconsider our place in this one. Joining us to talk about Karmic Debt and the exhibit's place in the museum's ambitious Summer Immersive series is Alison de Lima Greene, the Isabel Brown Wilson Curator of Modern and Contemporary Art at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. Alison, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you.
I looked at this last night. Let's start with just the basics. What does Karmic Debt mean?
Anicka Yi was born in South Korea, raised in the United States, and so she has a deep affinity with Buddhist belief and Zen culture. And so the idea of karma is always play it forward.
Well, we always talk about, that's karma. That comes back to bite you in the neck, right? So we understand that.
But, karma can be a positive thing.
Yeah.
And so, for example, when you're talking about resilience right now, good action will ensure a good future. And so we're at a precarious moment in our ecosystem where we are seeing tipping points that are very concerning. And that is something that Anicka Yi is sharply aware of. So she's looking at the biological history of our planet, reaching back literally 500 million years to the earliest life forms, radiolaria, that still live in our oceans, and imagining how can we preserve life by looking at the past and looking to the future.
So have you had a chance to see the video of this? It's almost like you're in the deepest part of the ocean with
It really is beautiful.
crazy
it's
octopi, like squid. I'm not sure. It's just animalistic. I mean, sort of sea creaturey.
What you're actually looking at is AI manipulated imagery taken from actual life forms in coral reefs.
Okay, so that makes perfect sense.
And so she has also blended it using this AI programming that she calls emptiness. It's a particular program she created to generate new images that can continue in literally after her death, combining found imagery based in science as well as past artworks by the artist.
So as we go in there, how many rooms? I know a lot of these immersion exhibits take several rooms.
Well, that's true of our other immersion exhibition that's up right now, the A.A. Murakami.
Mm-hmm.
But this is our largest hall. It's the space we often use. And so it's an all-encompassing environment that's 5,000 square feet. The ceiling is 30 feet high. The walls embrace you in the best way. We have beanbag seating on the floor.
Beanbag chairs are back?
Yes.
So you want people to feel comfortable is what you're saying.
But there's also benches for those of us whose knees are a little
Can't quite
less.
get out of a beanbag. Yes. So as a curator, when you're looking at this, what made you think we need to bring this to Houston? We need to have this here.
I'm always interested in audience engagement. I want everyone who walks into the museum to feel at home there. And the whole idea of immersion in art goes back, again, to the beginning of human production. We think of immersion as something new. Well, we have new technologies for it, which Anicka Yi takes best advantage of. But the Lascaux Caverns are immersive. The Sistine
That's a
Chapel
good point.
is immersive. The Rothko Chapel is immersive here in Houston. And so one of the reasons people respond so strongly to these works is they touch on the human experience and also at the same time bathe you in art. And in particular, one of the beautiful aspects of Each Branch of Coral Reaches Out to the Light of the Moon, which is the title of the video. What titles? I mean, she's so good with titles. Is also, it has an incredible soundtrack. It's like a sound bath with chimes and bells. You walk in there, and whatever the tensions are of the day, you can let go of them.
And it feels like there are a lot of tensions these days.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Where's our money?
So yeah. So Alison, what else can people? You're talking about the immersion of it. What else can people truly feel? What do you want people to leave with?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. In addition to the video, which you've seen images of and we've described slightly, there are 5 illuminated sculptures. They look like they are fantastic creatures that are literally woven out of optical fiber. And if you spend time looking at them, they too seem to breathe in and breathe out, even though they're fully abstract. They have little tentacles that expand and contract. And so when you look at them, you'll start thinking about other life forms.
Sure.
We tend to be very, centric on our own lives. Now we all know that we care about cats, we care about dogs, we care about family, but this invites you to care about the larger environment.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Alison de Lima Greene is the Isabel Brown Wilson Curator of Modern and Contemporary Art at the Museum of Fine Arts, Houston. Alison, thank you for joining us today on
thank
Hello
you so much.
Houston.
And keep an eye on our programming. We've got new things to show you in the fall. I'd love to come back and tell you about them.
Anytime.
Absolutely. Coming up on Hello Houston, we'll continue diving into the top stories of the day. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston. So Josh Adams, our Associate Vice President.
Associate Vice President,
General Manager is here. And when he's here, we know it's important. So Josh, what are we launching today? Give us an update. What's going on?
So as many of you have heard, it's the top of the hour here. We'll do a little reset, right?
Yep.
Last night, Congress approved, the House of Representatives approved the Trump administration's rescission bill. It effectively clawed back $1 billion allocated for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting across the next 2 years, $530 million a year. How that impacts Houston Public Media, that's $2.2 million of annual revenue that we have expected and gotten every single year and had been allocated as law for us across the next 2 years. That's gone. So our response is that we have launched the Resiliency Campaign. This is a fund to try to help bridge that revenue loss. We're trying to raise a minimum of $4.4 million or 2 years worth of that, 2 years of that lost funding.
And now is the time to contribute. If you've been thinking about doing it, it is now. It is critical. And you can go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. If you've turned to NPR for years, you know what makes it special. It's fact-based reporting, thoughtful conversations, and programs that inform and inspire. And the Resiliency Fund was created basically, like Josh was saying, to bridge that gap left by that $2.2 million loss in federal support to Houston Public Media. So head there now. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Yeah, look, we are an organized, group. We are a smart group, and we're a lean group.
We try to be.
We run a lean organization here, and so this is going to be complicated. It's going to be tough. We're going to have to make hard decisions. There's no replacing this federal support annually, so it's going to be painful. But the reality is, our commitment to the community is unwavering, and the way we do that is through smart content. It's through engaged local content. It's through listening to people in the community and making sure that we're hearing and reflecting their needs and wants and doing so in a way that matters.
And
Well, I was just going to say, if that matters to you, I encourage you to join us. 888-909-0887 and make a donation. You can also do it online. It's very easy at houstonpublicmedia.org. Now's the time for action. Let's not be shy. Let's take action. Do it for Houston Public Media. Do it for our community.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Donations come in many forms: a monthly membership, a one-time gift, and that extra vehicle you no longer need. We take any kind of vehicle in any condition. Learn more at houstonpublicmedia.org/cars. And thank you.
85 degrees at the University of Houston and overcast. I'm Tiffany Taylor. Highs around 90, 40% chance of thunderstorms for our Friday afternoon. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, we'll continue diving into today's top stories, including recovery efforts for more than 100 people still missing from the deadly July 4th floods in the Texas Hill Country. Houston Public Media reporter Sarah Grunau gives us the latest. I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. We'll also hear the latest episode of Party Politics. Co-host Brandon Rottinghaus' feature, Techsperts, in which he discusses and breaks down special legislative sessions ahead of Monday's special session.
Plus, we'll also discuss everything parents should know before sending their kids off to summer camp.
And we want to hear from you, so give us a call or text us, 713-440-8870, or email us, talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. Just go to hellohouston.org and click the big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Public media stations are waking up to a new reality. The House of Representatives voted late in the night to pull back $1.1 billion in spending on public broadcasting over the next 2 years. As NPR's David Folkenflik reports, the move, taken solely with Republican votes, means Congress has severed bonds stretching back more than 5 decades.
The federal money typically provides 1 or 2% of NPR's funds, but 10% for public radio stations and 15% for PBS and public TV stations. Conservatives have sought to strip away funding for public media before, claiming it shows liberal bias. President Trump targeted public broadcasting as part of a larger assault on the media and made it a test of loyalty for him. Public broadcasting officials had promised to fight to the end, but won over just 2 GOP lawmakers in the House late Thursday night. Executives say some stations may consolidate or be forced to close, especially in rural areas. Others foresee cuts. For now, expect pitches seeking financial support. David Folkenflik, NPR News.
In all, the rescissions package totals around $9 billion in cuts, a majority of which was slated for foreign aid. The administration is defending its record on food aid after destroying 500 metric tons of high-energy biscuits that had expired in an overseas warehouse. NPR's Michelle Kellerman reports State Department officials say the expired food aid was a tiny fraction of what the U.S. gives each year.
Democratic lawmakers have been blasting the State Department over the expired food aid that was intended for children in Afghanistan and Pakistan. The Deputy Secretary of State for Management called it a casualty of the shutdown of USAID and said he was distressed that the food went to waste. But State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce says it was relatively a small amount.
When you are moving 1 million metric tons of food around the world every year, for 1% to be the factor that has to get destroyed is a remarkable record.
She says the U.S. remains the largest provider of food aid, adding, quote, "We will not be lectured about this." Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, the State Department.
The tech company NVIDIA now has a go-ahead to sell its most advanced semiconductor chips in China. Here's NPR's Emily Fang.
The U.S. put successive layers of export controls on NVIDIA to stop it from selling some of its chips to China on national security grounds. Yet this week, after months of lobbying the U.S. and China, NVIDIA said it would get approval from the U.S. to sell what are called H20 semiconductors to China, its highest-end chip. China said the move was, quote, on the right path. This apparent reversal comes after NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang met again with President Trump earlier this month.
That's NPR's Emily Feng reporting. U.S. stocks are mixed this hour with the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 158 points at last check. You're listening to NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Those affected by the devastating Central Texas floods can still apply for federal assistance from FEMA. News 88.7's Sarah Grunau says hundreds of residents throughout the Hill Country have already sought assistance, both online and in person.
On Thursday, several residents who were left with lingering flood damage shuffled into the First Baptist Church doors in Kerrville for assistance from the government. Debbie Davis, who lives in a condo on the river, said that her HOA is facing about $500,000 worth of damage to the complex.
I didn't think I'd cry anymore, but it just sort of gets to you a little bit, you know. So here you see them going down now, but we're getting better. We were blessed. Nobody was hurt.
Kerrville residents can visit the Recovery Center to speak with representatives of FEMA, the Small Business Administration, Texas Legal Aid, and Red Cross. I'm Sarah Grunau in Kerrville.
Texas is heating up, and doctors are sounding the alarm for people to stay hydrated so they can avoid heat-related illnesses. Carrie Bakunis, an emergency doctor at UTHealth, says mild symptoms include muscle cramping and feelings of fatigue. As it becomes more severe, Bakunis says it's important to look for the signs of heat-related illness.
As your symptoms progress, you'll notice you start to feel a little bit lightheaded, maybe some headache, possibly nausea and vomiting, a faster heart rate. Sometimes people will pass out. And then when we talk about heat stroke, it's really defined as having a body temperature of 104 or greater, and is almost always accompanied by some confusion or change in mental status.
Bakunis recommends everyone outdoors during the daytime hours of 10 and 4 to hydrate every 20 minutes and be sure to consume electrolytes. Houston police arrested 2 suspects at the end of a chase on the west side of town last night. Multiple outlets report that one of the suspects had a warrant out for his arrest on an assault charge. The chase ended after the suspects crashed their vehicle into the curb. Both people were taken into custody without any injuries. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from ARM, committed to delivering innovative, advanced computing designed to enable worldwide companies to unleash the capabilities and experiences of AI. The future of AI is built on ARM. ARM.com. This is NPR.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Thanks for joining us this
It's
second
Friday.
hour. It's Friday. And you know, Frank, we've been so busy that we didn't even mention that Ernie's out today.
Ernie.
Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that guy, Ernie Manous? Remember Ernie Manous? He's a really nice guy.
He's right
Aw,
there. Hi, Ernie.
Hey, Ernie.
I'm sure he's on a much-deserved vacation day.
Yes, enjoying his time off. But we had a very packed first hour, and we have another packed second hour. But you know, Frank?
It's cloudy out. I just looked. It's kind of nice, keeping
Mhm.
temperatures in the 80s. That whole system that's in Louisiana, bringing all of that rain, it continues to pull north. So even our rain is pulling north. There are a few showers down around the island. There's some rain, but a lot of I think the wet weather is going to move on out of here.
So you think it's just a little bit overcast,
Yeah.
but we're not going to get... Okay.
Yeah, and tomorrow we'll be back to probably partly cloudy skies.
Yeah.
And Sunday the same. So if you have weekend plans, so you should be in good shape.
We should be okay.
Yeah.
And what do we have coming up on the show?
You know, University of Houston professor, I just love him.
Yeah,
Party
he's great.
Politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus. He's terrific.
Mhm.
He's going to have a new episode on his feature, Techsperts.
Which is so informative.
And so informative because he makes it so easy to understand.
Yes.
And you can only do that if you really know your subject.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
really. I mean, he's great at that. So he's going to talk about the special session, which starts on Monday of the Texas Legislature. So he'll break that down for us. In the meantime.
Yes. In the meantime, it's been 2 weeks since the devastating floods in central Texas. Recovery efforts continue in full force as search and rescue crews are still looking for missing people. Several central Texas roads remain closed, including a main Kerr County highway into Hunt, an area teeming with law enforcement and volunteers. Joining us now via phone for an update is Houston Public Media reporter Sarah Grunau, who joins us from Kerr County. Sarah, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thanks for having me.
So it's been 2 weeks. Can you give us any update on the latest numbers when we're looking at rescue and recovery?
Yeah, as of Thursday, the death toll has risen to about 116 people. That's from a previous count of 107 earlier this week. And Governor Abbott said previously that rescuers are still searching for about 100 people just within the Kerrville area.
Wow. And are these people that were visiting the area? What can you tell us about the people that are still missing? Or were these people that were registered within camps or, RV parks?
Yeah, it's really just a group of different people. We don't have a whole lot of information right now specifically about those who are still missing in the area. But it's, a group of different folks that have visited the area, some residents, and that's what we know for now.
Well, I don't know if you'll even know the answers. I read your story on Houston Public Media, and thank you for that. Everyone should go to the website and read it. It's tough to cover this kind of thing. But I'm trying to get in my mind, when you're doing this kind of search with just mountains of debris and mud, and how in the world do these rescuers and recovery, how do they go about it, Sarah? Do you know?
Yeah, they've really just been scouring the Guadalupe River here. I know that they've been having some difficult spots that they've covered. The trees that were knocked over in the riverbed, they basically look frozen in time because they're laying on their sides, and debris is just sprawled across the Kerrville River Trail. And it's definitely evident that recovery is going to take at least several more months.
And so, Sarah, what area have you been in exactly, and what else are you seeing? I mean, it sounds just
like a bomb,
bomb's
went
gone
off. I mean, it's awful.
Yeah. So, like was mentioned earlier before, the main highway that heads into Hunt, which is the most devastated area right now, is still closed off to the general public and even to reporters. But it's even in Kerrville, I mean, the damage is really extensive, and it doesn't take much time to recognize that.
Well, is there any help from dogs or any kind of sensory equipment, or is it just people trying to dig through the mud? I mean, that's what I'm trying to get a sense of.
Yeah, there's at least, I think I saw 1,000 maybe volunteers in the area, and law enforcement officials as well, who have been out here for, 2 weeks at this point, searching for folks. And I know that there are a number of handlers with cadaver dogs and people using radios, and it's really just still at the 2-week mark. It's all hands on deck.
Now, Sarah, Frank mentioned a very compelling story that is available at HoustonPublicMedia.org. You've been talking to different people in the area and residents. Can you share with us some of the things that people have been sharing with you?
Yeah, some of the residents I've talked to are still working, even now, to process the disaster, even 2 weeks later. I spoke with a man yesterday whose RV was destroyed in the floods, and he's really turned his personal focus to helping out and assisting search and rescue efforts for missing people he said it's one of his ways of just delaying tough discussions with his wife about where they even plan to live next. Other people that I spoke with are seeking loans and help from the federal government. FEMA set up a temporary disaster center inside of First Baptist Church in Kerrville to help some of those folks. But people are still really struggling.
Wow.
Wow. Well, what are the next steps? I know the rain really was prohibiting a lot of search. That's finally stopped, so they can get back to it. Is Alex Garza on YouTube is asking you, sir, is there any good news coming from the area?
I think one of the more positive stories I've covered, I met this artist who created this beautiful memorial across a section of the Guadalupe River. It's hard to find, some of the good out of such disaster. People are still struggling, and, some people are still asking who's to blame for all of this. And residents I've spoken with here say it still feels even too early for those people that are carrying the emotional and physical weight of this tragedy to even start asking those questions.
Wow. Well, Houston Public Media reporter Sarah Grunau, thank you so much for joining us today, and stay safe out there.
Thanks for having me.
And you can head to HoustonPublicMedia.org to read all of our coverage coming out of Central Texas. And Sarah has an extremely compelling story about what's happening there. And again, at HoustonPublicMedia.org.
Yeah, she's doing a great job out there. So another story that you may have heard about, President Trump has been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, but remains in excellent health, the White House physician said in a memo yesterday. So the administration disclosed this information after people online brought attention to photos of the president. He had a lot of bruising on his hands and swollen ankles.
His ankles.
So they wanted to know what was going on. So they talked about this medical condition that affects the veins of his legs. It's caused when blood has trouble getting pumped back up to the heart, fairly common for people over 70, and Trump is 79. But I'm not the expert. So we go to the experts. And joining us now is UTHealth Houston and Memorial Hermann, Dr. Louis Bernal Ribe. Dr. Ribe, thank you for joining us here on Hello Houston.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be joining you in the radio today.
Thank you. So tell us, what do we need to know about chronic venous insufficiency? And first and foremost, I've read that this can lead to morbidity, but the White House is saying, no, this is just one of those things. So explain to us what this is and how serious it can be.
Yeah, sure. So chronic venous insufficiency refers to a disease that affects the veins in the lower extremities. It can give different symptoms and different signs, but usually the most common symptoms that patients start complaining about is pain in the lower extremities, which is number one most common symptom, and the second one is swelling of the lower extremities. So those are the most common ones, like more than 60-70% of the cases. And usually this happens within years, so it's not something that happens acutely. Usually it happens within years, and it can cause at some point some morbidity in terms of having some chronic pain, developing some large venous varicose veins, and sometimes in the worst scenario they can develop very large varicose veins and large venous ulcers that can be a problem for their usual health and for the quality of life.
Can anybody get this, or are there predispositions for this type of disease?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some risk factors. Some of them which you cannot really control. Number one is age. So age above 65, 70 years old is one of the common risk factors to develop venous insufficiency, obviously including swelling of the legs, varicose veins, and even on the most advanced stages, having some venous ulcers. And then there are some other risk factors that we cannot control, such as a hereditary cause, a genetic cause. So it's very common to have it in the same family, fathers, mothers having the same problem. But then there are other risk factors that can be controlled, and if we can avoid them or we can control these risk factors, patients can improve, such as obesity is one of the main reasons for having varicose veins. Diabetes has also been associated. In some cases, alcohol consumption can also influence on having venous insufficiency and chronic varicose veins.
Okay, one last question, Doctor. What can President Trump do? I mean, I guess get his weight down and stop eating so much sugar, fats. What would you, if you were his doctor, what would you tell him to do?
Well, obviously, I don't know his a specific case, or every patient needs to be seen and analyzed separately. First thing we need to do is do physical exam on the patient. We need to see, we need to exclude that there's not any other problem. We need to focus that there's only a venous problem, a venous disease. We need to do a specific physical exam. And once we get that information, usually we need to do a venous ultrasound, which is going to give a little bit more information about what's going on with the superficial veins and with the deep veins. Just as for the general population, if I have to give some advice on the usual patient that has some chronic venous insufficiency with some leg swelling, with some varicose veins, the first thing that I would recommend is to keep some daily activity, try to do walking every day, being active every day. That's very important to improve the muscle in the lower extremities.
If you want to keep moving, you got to keep moving.
Sure. And also try to, in some cases, to get some weight loss. And it's very important to get a good skin hydration, and usually also to get some compression stockings.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're a busy man. So Dr. Lucas Bernal Ribe of the UTHealth Houston and Memorial Hermann outfits there. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time.
And so, as we continue thinking about these things and looking at the latest information, whether that's coming out of Central Texas or DC, we strive to bring you the latest information
on all subjects.
On all subjects, yeah.
And it's from local to national.
Local to national. And again, we also invite you to the conversation. You can give us a call at 713-440-8870. And I believe we do have a call on the line now. And welcome to Hello Houston. What is your question or comment?
Yes, my name is Leonard Simon, and I am an attorney in Houston, and I just want to express my anger at what Congress has done with respect to the funding for public radio. I just think that it's a mean and nasty ruling on behalf of Congress, and I can tell you that it's going to make many people very angry at the Republicans for doing this.
Leonard, thanks for giving us a call. And I want to just reintroduce our Associate Vice President, General Manager of Houston Public Media, Josh Adams, is joining us now. Josh, welcome back.
We got a lot of calls like that.
Yeah, you know what? Here's what I'll say to Leonard and to people that are feeling anger, frustration, sort of any emotion. Look, our job at Houston Public Media is to provide content for this entire community. And while many of us are disappointed in the way that Congress voted, rescinding these funds, I think there are many people out there who feel like this was appropriate, who feel like this was part of what good government is about. And I'm here to serve them as well, right? We're here to make sure that the content that we're showcasing, the content that we're bringing forward, fits them as much as it fits people who disagree. That's the great thing about what we do. That's a great thing about public media. We're here for everyone. And so, Leonard, I hear you. Thank you for your support. And And if you feel the opposite of Leonard, you know what? I hear you as well, and thank you for your support. That's our job, to make sure that we're getting both of those perspectives and bringing them to people in a way that they can go, okay, I'm either a Leonard guy or maybe I'm not a Leonard guy, but I heard it on Houston Public Media. They weren't afraid to showcase that kind of information. They weren't afraid to go and root out both sides of the story and present it to me so that I can make an informed decision. You know, and if that's the kind of thing that you value, like Leonard, make a donation and encourage somebody that disagrees with you to make a donation. They're easy. HoustonPublicMedia.org. You can call us 888-909-0887. Frank, to your point, we're getting lots of calls. We're getting lots of comments, just like Leonard. And that's the great thing about what we do.
Yeah, and that's what we also want to continue to do, is help you make an informed decision. And that's why coming up on Hello Houston, University of Houston professor and Party Politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus will have a new episode, a new feature, Texperts, in which he discusses how special session of Texas legislatures work. This is News 88.7.
The question is, are they going to have to close their doors?
Yes,
CPB.
And that is something.
We have a question on YouTube saying
ask
we lost 10% of our funding. How much did this Corporation for Public Broadcasting lose? I said 100%, Josh. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's nuanced, but that's right. You know, the funding has been rescinded. There is no FY26 and 27 funding for CPB.
So will they just go away, close their doors?
No.
No,
they won't. They are not a government agency. They are a standalone 501c3 nonprofit, right? And they have money in the bank. They have active grants from previous years that were funded over multiple years, right? So they'll continue on with delivering that money and delivering on those grants that they're contractually obligated to. The other piece of this is that the next appropriation might appropriate money back into public media. They're going to have to administer that.
My question.
That's what CPB will be there for.
And again, if you want to support, now is the time. This is more than ever. It is time. You can go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or pick up that phone, 888-909-0887. I'm Celestia Sherman, here with Frank Billingsley and our Associate Vice President and General Manager, Josh Adams.
Yeah, you know, listen, again, we've talked about this a little bit. The money was rescinded, 10% of our budget, Frank, as you said, and we have launched the Resiliency Fund. If you're listening, if you lost 10% of your funding at your own personal budget, you might change the way that you live your life, how you handle your expenses, and we're going to do the exact same thing. But we're still going to be here to serve the community. We're still going to be here to do great stories, to tell great stories, to be here for weather emergencies, to do the weather, and to continue on investing in shows like Hello Houston, shows like Houston Matters. We're going to hear from Brandon Rottinghaus later. I heard you guys talking about that.
He's
Party
awesome.
politics. Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's what it means to have connection to the community, and that's where I know we're going to continue to be strong and vibrant and make a difference.
But we still need your help.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Josh is so positive. He's like, we're going to do it. We're going to climb that mountain, but we could use an extra rope or two. That is for sure.
Yeah, we're going to need money to buy ropes.
That's right. All right. So we're not just about bringing you the facts, which of course we do day in and day out, but we connect you with people who've witnessed important events. Like we were just talking to our reporter out there in Kerrville. We bring people into our studio every day whose small ideas are making big changes. That live the archaeology that we learned about yesterday and all of the Maya ruins, that was fascinating.
And you know, and this is the thing, right? We've been talking about how we've been watching and we monitor everything that's going on, and we've been these conversations about public media going away didn't just start last night. And that's why we continue to work in making sure that we are bringing all perspectives to the table, because we want to continue to address when people are like, well, you're this or you're that. No, truly, here in Houston at Houston Public Media, we work to bring local, fact-driven journalism. And again, we invite people to the conversation. We don't say, if you think this. No, we say, everybody is invited to our conversation. And now is the time to support, and we invite you to go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate.
Yeah, you know, Frank, you mentioned Kerrville. We had reporters in Kerrville. We had people in Kerrville that we sent out there. That didn't happen by accident.
Of course not.
No, I mean, we made a decision. We said that's an important piece of news that we want to cover. It affects people in Houston, and in the middle of the night, my phone was ringing, and we were saying, go, 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 go. And we sent folks out there. That's the type of impact this organization has in the community, and that's what the community expects from us. We need their support now to keep that up,
Right. And it's news and it's some politics, but it's also just these stories you would never get any other place that we have the time to explore because we are public media where we don't have to hit a certain commercial break and get those commercials in. Oh, I know. When they say, Frank, you have 1 minute for weather. I'm like, wait, usually 2.5. Like, no, we got to hit that commercial break. Here we can actually go and tell the story that needs to be told.
And that's why you should go right now, make your gift, HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate, or pick up that phone. It is critical. You are part of this equation. 888-909-0887.
Houston Public Media provides a free, essential, and trusted public service to everyone in Southeast Texas. The generosity of our Affinity Council Committee enables us to bring inspiration, insight, and connection through public media. Dr. Carol Baker, Linda Dalfries, Erica and Charles Harris, Estate of Betty Mann, Betty Seidler, and Kathleen and Patrick Whelan. Thank you.
Support comes from Visit Galveston, an island-style retreat where visitors can experience historic architecture, museums, boutique shops, and more at this family seaside escape. More at visitgalveston.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
All right, this Monday, July 21st, a special session of the Texas Legislature will begin. The session, which was called by Texas Governor Greg Abbott, will address several vetoed bills, including a proposed ban on all THC products, plus other issues. So if you're unclear about special legislative sessions and how they work, you're in luck, as we have the latest episode of University of Houston professor and party politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus' new feature, Texperts, in which he discusses this very topic. So without further ado, here's the latest Texperts.
Welcome to Texperts, Houston Public Media's short primers on Texas government. I'm Brandon Rottinghaus, a political science professor at the University of Houston.
In accordance with the proclamation of the Honorable Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas, I call the House of Representatives of the 88th Legislature, third call session to order. Members, please register.
That was Texas Speaker of the House Dade Feeling calling to order a third special session of the 88th Legislature. That's right, a third. Now, normally each regular session of the Texas Legislature is 140 days. That's not a lot of time, but even in those instances, sometimes, just like in football, Texas needs overtime. In that case, the governor can call a special session on any issue he or she would like the legislature to address, allowing the governor to call legislatures back to Austin outside of the regular biennial session. Since 1876, when the current Texas Constitution was adopted, special sessions have played a central role in handling urgent, controversial, or unresolved matters. From redistricting fights to tax reform battles, these special sessions have often served as the battleground for high-stakes policymaking, or sometimes a legislative belly flop. The Texas governor holds sole authority to call a special session and determine its agenda. The power is expansive. The governor can call as many sessions as desired, each lasting no more than 30 days. Only topics expressly listed in the governor's proclamation or the call can be considered. However, the governor can expand the call during the session to include additional items. Legislators can technically file any bill, but committee and chamber leadership typically block measures not germane to the governor's call. The result is a highly focused, governor-driven legislative period, often marked by increased political tension and urgency. Historically, special sessions produce far fewer bills than regular sessions. While regular sessions may see about 7,000 bills filed, a special session usually sees about 150 to 300 bills filed, with about 10 to 30 bills typically passed, depending on the length of the agenda and the scope of the call. Veto activity in special sessions is also distinctive. Because special sessions are short and focused, governors tend to veto fewer bills. Between 1991 and 2003, the average number of vetoes per special session was under 5, although this can vary. A special session lasts for 30 days, but sometimes they're even shorter. The shortest special session on record was exactly 1 hour in 1923. Special sessions have frequently shaped major moments in Texas political history. Amid the Great Depression and collapsing oil prices, Governor Ross Sterling called a special session in 1931 to address the economic crisis. This included the controversial oil proration laws, setting the stage for state regulation of the energy sector. In response to the U.S. Supreme Court's desegregation ruling, Governor Price Daniel called a special session in 1957 to deal with the public school integration issue. The legislature passed a series of massive resistance laws attempting to slow desegregation, many of which were later struck down. Perhaps the most famous modern use of a special session came in 2003 when Governor Rick Perry called 3 special sessions to push a mid-decade redistricting plan engineered by U.S. House Majority Leader Tom DeLay. This redistricting dramatically altered the state's congressional map and sparked intense political battles, including a Democratic walkout to Oklahoma during the first session. Governor power swells during a special session. While the power of the Texas executive branch is split across several offices in the Texas Constitution, it also gives the governor significant tools to navigate a special session. The governor sets the agenda on the special session and has the veto at the end. It's the best jab-cross combination of any Texas politician to push legislation. The lieutenant governor has leverage, of course, in the Texas Senate, because any legislation that gets approved has to go through his seal of approval. Now let's talk to somebody who's seen a couple of these legislative battles. Mike Toomey is a former Republican representative of the Texas House and was former chief of staff to Governor Rick Perry. Mike Toomey, welcome to Techsperts.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Special sessions are pretty rare for most governors. Usually they get to call between 1 and 4, depending on how long they're in office. How do governors set the agenda for a special session? And then how do they determine kind of roughly what to put on the call?
Well, they set the agenda for a priority. For example, a budget may die and they have to call them back. Relevant to what's happening here, in 2003 or 4, Rick Perry was governor. He went up to the Congress and Tom DeLay felt like they needed to have an interim redistricting. And the governor came back and said, I think we have to have an interim redistricting. And they did it. And, it was kind of a mess at the beginning, but it was, relevant for what's happening today, a call, in this case, I think by the president, to say, hey, we need to have an interim redistricting here. Emergencies that happen, it may be, but for the THC issue and redistricting, the governor might call it because of the floods. That's the kind of thing where a governor would want to exercise his power.
Yeah, and just in terms of kind of the logistics of it, how do governors prepare for special sessions? Do they have legislation ready to go, or do they defer to the legislature in terms of kind of how to craft something more to their liking and then they negotiate?
They normally would have something ready to go. It might not necessarily be a fully written bill because that may be a little presumptuous when you have 2 houses to deal with, right? But you should certainly know you've called them back, and you should certainly know what you want. Obviously, on the issue of THC, the governor has said, in a lengthy veto proclamation what he wants, and the lieutenant governor in his press conference said what he wants. But other items in this special session, as you know, he pointed out the bills he vetoed and what he wants to fix. So he's been pretty. He's done the right thing to being very definitive what the legislature needs to do to fix things, right?
Yeah. And so when the governor's monitoring what the ledge is doing during the special, is it easier or is it more challenging than a regular session where in a regular session there's thousands of bills and a special session, there's maybe a handful of bills. What's the kind of challenges that present for each?
The governor has a lot more power in a special session because it's only 30 days. And as I'm sure you'll tell your listeners, he alone in Texas can call a special session. Nobody else can call them. So he has all that power. And then by the time you get a bill passed, he could veto it without, and you're out of time. There's nothing the legislature can do. In a regular session, if you really wanted to buck a governor, you could have a veto override. And that has happened in our past. When Governor Clements was governor, there was a veto override attempt on the tax bill. But you really can't do that. So he has so much power because of that short window that there's not much the legislature can do. And then if they don't do what he wants, guess what? Calls them right back. It ruined their summer.
That's kind of actually the part of the next question is, in a former life, you were also a legislator. So what do legislators think about these special sessions? Is it approached with a sense of dread or with a sense of opportunity to do more different kind of legislation?
No, I think generally legislators, unless they have no occupation and have anything else to do and don't have a family, they don't like them. Right. I mean, look at this. July 21st, they just got out of session.
Right.
They want to go on a vacation. Well, schools now starts, August 21st, they're in school. I mean, you really got a window. The governor's picked a window here for them to get their work done. Otherwise, they're back in special away from their kids. So it's very good timing.
Normally, as you said, governors have a kind of upper hand during these special sessions. They're able to set the agenda and then veto at the end. What leverage, if any, do legislators have, or collectively does the legislature have when negotiating with the governor on these policy issues?
Well, that's where your realm kicks in more than my realm, because as you know, the governor's power is majority influence, and he is the governor, and he has the bully pulpit. And you saw last session what his endorsements did and his money did in a lot of races on school choice issue. So he, and particularly this governor, because he's a workaholic and he's so smart, no member wants to have the governor come out against them. Even a Democrat, I think, does not want to have to fool with that, So, but certainly all the Republicans, none of them, whether they're conservative, want to have this governor, or really any governor, particularly this governor, because he's exercised his muscles and won, buck him.
That's the leverage. Yeah. Well, hey, thanks a lot. This has been really helpful. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good luck. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Techsperts, and thanks to everybody, cast and crew here at Houston Public Media for making it happen.
You just heard Techsperts from Brandon Rottinghaus, University of Houston political science professor and co-host of Party Politics on Channel 8. He spoke with Mike Toomey, a former member of the Texas House of Representatives and former chief of staff to Texas Governor Rick Perry. Coming up, we'll discuss how parents can feel more confident about sending their kids to sleepaway camp. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues. You've all heard it. We've been talking about it all morning. Federal support has been cut for
Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Thank you.
CPB.
And I am Celeste Diaz-Sherman here with Frank Billingsley and our Associate Vice President and General Manager, Josh Adams. Josh, talk to us a little bit about this resiliency fund that we've been chatting about all morning.
Yeah, so Congress cut 2.2, well, they cut federal funding for CPB, but for us at Houston Public Media, that means $2.2 million annually. So every year moving forward, 2.2 out of our revenue bucket. So we've launched this resiliency campaign to help bridge that gap. We want to make sure that as we pivot this organization to what our new normal is, we do it thoughtfully, we do it with time, we do it with purpose to make sure that we're meeting all of the expectations that the community has for the work that we do.
And we can't do it without you. So you can go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or pick up that phone, 888-909-0887.
We're more than just a station. We are a public service. I mean, we talk politics on the station. We just had Brandon talking about the legislature that's coming up on Monday. But we talk to people about their archaeological digs. We're going to be talking in the next segment about safer ways to go about summer camp now.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that we address in these 2 hours. And then Craig has Houston Matters every day and talks about so many great subjects. So we want to keep those going.
Yeah, anytime there's weather that comes in, a thing you know a little something about, those EAS signals for 19 counties, they come right through this station.
Yeah.
So when you see an EAS alert, you see it on radio, that's because we've passed it through. That's our commitment to this community. We feel like it's our job. And that means all the testing, all the infrastructure, all the generators that keep it running when the power goes out, all that training. We take that burden on for the entire community because that's what we feel like our role is.
I was at a meeting of the Harris County Office of Emergency Management just a couple of months ago, and they said, you guys are, during Beryl a year ago, you guys are the ones that we used to get the word out on what was happening where and when. So you're absolutely right. It's not just running a crawl like we do on TV sometimes, the commercial television. I mean, we get in there and we talk about, we did 3 hours on the snowstorm?
We did, yeah. I mean, we had wall-to-wall coverage, and it was one of those things that people have to understand. We have these conversations that we are activating. Our supervisors are looking to us, and they're monitoring, like, the weather. And during Beryl, I was actually in Colorado driving back in. It was a Sunday, and I was on a meeting, and we were talking about how are we going to serve our community during this time, and what are we going to do to activate. And we are here, boots to the ground. We all came in. A lot of people slept at the station, but we can't do that without you. And that is why you have to support. Now is the time. If you've thought about it before, don't wait. Go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
I've been at this station a long time. And in a leadership position for a long time, and one of the things that I've always said, one of the things I feel very passionately and strongly about is that we're here to serve the community when they need us. There is nothing that we have on our air that is more important than serving the community in the moment. And early in my days here, I would get frustrated that we wouldn't break into programming. Now we do it all the time. To your point. News happens. We got to be on the air talking about it. Forget that show. Forget that underwriting. Forget that promo. No, we're not doing that break. We've got something more important that the community needs to hear. You can't get that from commercial. Frank, you spent a long time in commercial, as did I.
Oh, yeah.
You don't just knock out commercials. You don't just knock out primetime programming. Well, you know what? In public media, you do. If it's right for the community in the moment, if they need the information, that's our job. And I love that freedom to be able to really serve it up in real time that way.
Yeah. Well, and our budget, especially compared to commercial television, is about 10% of what the commercial television stations are, and they still want more money.
And we run lean.
We run really lean. So, to have a $20 million budget on television, as much as we do with our digital streams and our radio streams and now our YouTube streams, there's no holding back. So we really do run lean, but we have to have every dollar we can get.
Yep.
That's right. And the way you can support that is give now at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Being lean is as much about raising money as it is about spending money, right? We have to be so smart in how we spend it. That's what being lean means. And that means constantly evaluating and reevaluating how you want to spend your dollars. What's the return on those dollars? Commercial stations, they can get away with it a little bit. They've got dividend checks, and they've got stockholders. They can kind of get away with that. We can't. People give us their money. That's how we fund our business model. They give it to us. So I have to really make sure that we are laser focused with the expenses that we have and that the return is there.
Yeah.
I tell you, HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or 888-909-0887 is the way to go. We count on every single dollar that comes into the station, and I think we make good use of it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm with you. You guys are a perfect example of that. This is a show that has resonated in the community, and it's because of us trying to be smart with how we do that.
Give to us. We'll give back.
That's right. And we will continue, to strive for what we do best here, and that is providing fact-based journalism. So HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
On the next Living on Earth, Amid worsening climate disasters, key FEMA programs are on the chopping block.
The Trump administration has terminated one of the most important programs for building resilience. That's called the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Program.
I'm Jenny Doring. Disaster preparedness and climate. Next time on Living on Earth from PRX.
Saturday at 10 on News 88.7.
Houston Matters wants to hear from you about story or guest ideas for future programs, or pet care or gardening questions you'd like us to tackle when those subjects come up each month on the show. Or maybe you have suggestions for how we can improve the program and provide a better public service. Reach out anytime at talk@houstonmatters.org. I'm Craig Cohen. Join us for the next Houston Matters, weekday mornings at 9 here on News 88.7.
Houston Public Media brings to you PBS World. Experience the personal connection behind the headlines with programming devoted to telling stories that humanize complex issues. PBS World on TV 8.6 and online at houstonpublicmedia.org.
It can be hard to stay informed about what's happening in our city, our state, and across the country. That's why Houston Public Media makes it easier.
Everything you hear on News 88.7 is powered by you. Not advertisers. 80% of our funding comes from our Houston community.
That's what makes public media different. It's community funded and always here for you when you need it.
Join that community now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Support comes from SunnyPro, a Houston-based business advisory firm providing tailored consulting solutions, specializing in technology assessments, cybersecurity, AI strategy, and more. Details at sunnypro.com or follow @SunnyPro LLC.
And now back to Hello Houston. To share your thoughts on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
It's been 2 weeks since the major flooding on the Guadalupe River that swept away homes, RVs, campsites, and cabins. The tragedy has left many still in disbelief and grieving for what was supposed to be a holiday weekend turned into mass destruction. And for many parents across the nation, it has left many wondering, what is the risk versus benefit of sleepaway camps, and how can I feel confident sending my children away? To tell us what parents should be asking before sending away any child to sleepaway camp, we're joined by Drew Bivona, founder of Bivona Law. Drew, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you for having me.
So, talk to us a little bit about your background and what your thoughts are as parents look to summer camps.
I'm one of the few attorneys in Texas that focuses their practice on injured children. I have a wife and a young child as well, and children's always been a focus for me and for my family. And this tragedy that happened 2 weeks ago was just shocking. And we wanted to go around trying to get a list of recommendations out for parents to look at as their children go off to summer camp, just like my wife is asking us when we should start sending our son.
Yes, and it's a conversation that, happens is, when should I start sending my child? A lot of kids start going as young as 6, 7 years old. We saw that there are a lot of these children, the little girls at Camp Mystic, were very young. What are some top of mind, easy things right off the top of mind that a parent can think of when they're thinking about sending their kids to camp?
I think when parents are looking at camps, number one question is who's in charge? Whether it's over the entire camp or if it's divided into age groups, who is that go-to point of contact that is going to be in control of the area, your children, their safety? Knowing that name, I think, is very important.
Mm-hmm. Like the person who's essentially going to be making decisions in a crisis moment, right? And so then once you're looking into these different camps, what are some other things that parents should basically gather as they're looking into these things?
So when you're looking at a summer camp, it's always important to know what are those emergency points of contact. both ways. If there's an emergency at home and you need to reach out to your child, how do you do it? What is that point of contact there at the camp? And then in reverse, if there's an emergency with your child or at the camp at large, how do they reach you? Is that by text? Is that with some third-party app? And if it's by text or by phone, whose number do they have? Do they have the dad? Do they have the mom? Do they have the grandmom? Making sure all that's together and lined up, I think will give you a little comfort to know that you'll be able to be contacted or make contact in an emergency.
Do you think it would be okay if somebody asked, I want to know what happens in an on this camp if an emergency situation is to arise and happen?
Yeah, I would ask that as a parent, and I think you would generally find that within the handbook or the brochure that each camp has that lays out, and they should have some type of emergency action plan if there's a fire, if there's a flood, if there's inclement weather like a hurricane or a tornado. What do they plan to do?
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to know, though. I mean, let's admit it. It's easy to Monday morning quarterback on this whole situation, but nobody could have seen that flood coming, I don't think, and made a plan for it. But the unbelievable does occur.
Yes.
Now and then. So if you're going to send your child to camp, how do you just internally say, okay, this is a chance that we have to take because the benefits of camp are so overwhelmingly wonderful for my child?
Yeah, I think I remember going to camp as a child. I'm sure you guys did.
Yeah.
I know it's a big thing here in South Texas. When it comes to the benefits, the social benefits, the developmental benefits, we know they're all there. And I think as parents, to give us that confidence that they're going to be safe is just reading into that brochure or that handbook, going to the orientation that they have, talking to the administrators or the counselors there, and just knowing what are they thinking behind the scenes? How prepared do they seem? Not for every single thing that could possibly happen, but do they have a plan in place that gives you the confidence, the warm and fuzzy inside, that your child's going to be safe?
And the other part of it is as we look, kind of like what Frank was saying, now hindsight is 2020. In many of these types of summer away camps, do parents just literally sign away, everything? You're sending your child off.
Is there any recourse if there's a problem?
What kind of fine print is there that maybe we might miss?
Yeah, I think parents generally, when dropping their children off at camp or even at daycare, are putting the trust of their child in somebody else's hands. And there is always fine print. There are waivers that parents generally sign that could limit liability possibly for a child or for themselves. But there are avenues around waivers. There are laws in place to keep children safe, that children can bring claims if there is some type of negligence, for example. There are options, and of course that's when, it's a good time to reach out to an attorney, but parents aren't left with no options if some type of negligence occurs.
And what happens if a parent says, you know what, I want to know for sure that you all have had some type of third-party safety audit done here, that you can tell me pretty much anything, but I want to make sure that there's that buffer. Can the camp provide that? Should they provide that? Is that a normal request?
Yeah, I think it would be a normal request. There are third parties in Texas that do safety audits on private institutions, whether they're businesses or they're camps like this. And to get that information in, they should easily be able to tell you, yes, we've had an audit happen this June, we passed.
Awesome. Drew Bivona is the founder of Bivona Law. Drew, thanks so much for joining us today and informing parents.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Something that we do right here on Hello Houston is we engage a lot with you all. And as we are looking at moving forward and pivoting with what is essentially our new normal, which is federal funds for public media have been cut. And this year's funding has been rescinded. And so we are looking to you to engage with us. But this time we need your support for our resiliency fund. So go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman, here with Frank Billingsley, as well as our Associate Vice President, General Manager of Houston Public Media, Josh Adams.
Yeah, this is a defining moment for Houston and for Houston Public Media. $2.2 million out of our annual revenue bucket gone overnight. So now's the time to take action. We've got a lot of work to do to build up what we've lost, and we're counting on you to help us do it. We've had great response this morning, people who have called, texted, gotten online, people who have gotten on social media and said, you know what, I want to be a part of what's happening there. I don't want to just let it go without saying I need to contribute. So if you feel that way, I would encourage you to get involved right now.
You know, we had one viewer, a listener, call and say it just was a mean thing to do. But despite the emotion, the fact is we try to bring all sides of an issue to the table. And it might have been mean to some people, maybe not mean to others, but the fact is it happened.
Yeah, well said, Frank.
And the fact is today you should support the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887. I truly believe that our listeners and our viewers and you who are listening right now, whether you're in your car or you're watching us on YouTube, you engage with us and we're in this together. And I just wanted to show, this was sent to us by Richard, and this is his pup, and he sent us a picture of him, and that's the type of engagement that we do. We're local. We're here. We know what your puppies look like. So send us, a little extra help there, a thumbs up, and support the Resiliency Fund.
Puppy love pledge.
A puppy love pledge.
You know, if you've pledged before, we would love to have a pledge again. If you've never pledged, this is really the time that we need you to consider doing it. We're here. We haven't talked a lot about misinformation, but it's out there, and we're here to try to get the facts on the board.
Yeah, 888-909-0887. You can donate online, houstonpublicmedia.org. You can find it on our app. You can find it on social media. Whatever you do, just go find it. And whatever amount works for you, right? It could be a small amount, a middle amount. It could be an ad gift. I thank you.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from Gulf Coast Blood, providing everything your group needs to save lives and make an impact in your community. Info on hosting a blood drive at your business, school, place of worship, or organization is at giveblood.org/host-a-blood drive.
85 degrees at the University of Houston and overcast. I'm Tiffany Taylor. Highs around 90.